Ooh, welcome on into the Fantasy Football Forge. My name is Steve, and we're going to be going through the quarterbacks and the tight ends in this video. I will be letting you know for the quarterbacks and the tight ends, each one start, one love, one fade, start, sit, whatever you want to call them. I call them love and fade because I just like to be different. But it's the same idea as start sits. It's oftentimes the guys who we don't quite some people just choose the obvious picks and that doesn't really help. But I like to take a little bit of a risk with my starts and my sits. Try to take guys who are at least on the borderline of you're thinking of starting them one way or the other, or you're thinking of sitting them. I don't like to take the obvious picks as often as I can avoid doing that. And in doing so, that's sometimes it's guys who I don't have the cojones to put higher up in my rankings. So I'm just trying to give you a little bit of a hint of saying, hey, if you want to take a chance on me, go right ahead and play this guy. So that is how that works. If you're not aware, the running backs and the wide receiver videos have already come out this week, so go check those out. You can also find them all up on the website, www.theffforge.com. There's a link down in the description to each of the rankings. I should have announced that in each of the previous videos. I'll get used to my intro as the season goes along. Maybe I'll actually write something up so I don't forget things and it goes a little quicker. With that being said, quarterbacks, tight ends are going to be tied up in one video this year. That's going to be different. And for those who are new to the channel, as the season progresses, once we get to week 4, after we get 3 weeks of data, I will begin showing you projections. I will also have my rankings, but you will see projections. An expected range will be up on the screen, and an expected range will be up on the website, and that expected range is the area where about 2/3 of the time these guys are probably going to score within, and that just gives you a nice little, once again, expected range of outcomes. It's not one projected number because we know how inaccurate that is. Instead, it's a range. I think that's it. Let's get on to the quarterback rankings. That can't be it. Is that it? Did I tell you I'm going to be live on Thursdays 1.5 hours prior to kickoff, on Saturdays evenings 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Sunday mornings? I'm recording all these videos back to back, so I kind of maybe forgot what I've said. I don't think I did. Sunday mornings, 2 hours prior to kickoff, I'll be live for all of your start-sit needs. And, of course, my final projections will be available Sunday morning. My final rankings will be available Sunday morning with me. That is that. So these, things may change between now. In fact, things changed in both the wide receiver and running back video as I was going through them. So let's see if I still agree with my rankings. So far, my first tier of ranking starts off with Josh Allen going up against Arizona. I mean, easy. You're starting him. Lamar Jackson going up against Kansas City. You're starting him. You're not sitting him. Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud. Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't matter who they're playing against. You're starting them. CJ Stroud. Okay, maybe there's a question mark here, but he's going up against Indianapolis. It is a rivalry game. It is an interdivision game, so those are always a little bit tougher. But Indianapolis, not the best secondary in the world coming into the season. Hopefully that'll improve throughout the season for their sake. But coming in, we're excited about the upside here for CJ Stroud week 1. He's making it into my first tier. Right behind him, second tier of receivers is going to be kicked off by Joe Burrow, my fade of the week. So like I said, these are guys who maybe we just don't have the cojones to rank lower. I'm very excited about Joe Burrow this season. MVP season possibility. I think a lot of things are going to connect for them. New England does have a good defense historically. Very good. And I'm still concerned about them. They have suffered a few setbacks, injuries this offseason. Will that be enough to make them a good matchup? I don't think so. Maybe. We'll see. But coming into the season, I'm still worried about the upside for a team like Cincinnati here week 1 against New England, especially if Ja'Marr Chase isn't playing. That could hurt the offense there. So all the more reason to be maybe sitting Joe Burrow week 1 if you can afford to do it. But also, pretty excited about Joe Burrow and the upside this season, especially if Ja'Marr Chase is there. And so far I'm ranking as if Ja'Marr Chase is playing. So we'll that might affect rankings too. Kyler Murray going up against Buffalo. A lot of upside trying to keep up against a good offense. Always there. And, they might be able to, especially with this new look Buffalo offense, might be a little bit less explosive than ones in the past. Anthony Richardson going up against Houston. I do respect that offense, but I'm also very excited about Anthony Richardson this season. So he's starting off up here. We're starting off excited for it. But Jordan Love right behind that. Definitely a ceiling pick here in Jordan Love. He's a love him for me this week. Love going up against Philadelphia. A secondary that absolutely stunk down the stretch last year. Absolutely has the talent to not stink. Total philosophical change. Might take more than 1 week for that defense to come together. And week one, look for Green Bay to take advantage in what should be possibly a higher scoring game there. Tua Tagovailoa, also a game who I think has a chance of being a high scoring game, a back and forth type of affair. And you can see I have Tua, Trevor Lawrence back to back as my quarterbacks 10 and 11. So there you go. I'm expecting scoring going on, and that's why I'm high up on them. And then Jared Goff, just nice and safe going up against the Los Angeles Rams. Not too tough of a matchup. Could end up being another game where the running backs get a fair bit of work, and once they get down into the red zone, and that takes a little bit of the ceiling away from Jared Goff. That's always my concern for Jared Goff, but definite safe play this week, making it into my second tier. And that's to bring us on to this third tier, and after this, I think we're avoiding playing these guys. It looks like there was a fade that just made it miss this tier, if you caught that could have been a fade instead, but wanted to go with somebody higher up in my rankings. I am sure of that. Matt Stafford going up against Detroit. A lot of upside there. Pretty excited about it. I don't know why he's in this tier. I think I should change the tier. There we go. That's been updated. Matt Stafford now back into this tier. Yeah, going up against Detroit. Improved secondary, probably, possibly. Tough to get too much worse than they were last year, but until proven otherwise, this could be a good week for Matt Stafford. Caleb Williams going up against Tennessee, a defense that's added, some pieces this offseason. So we'll see what that defense is exactly. But Caleb Williams, a rookie and everything. I'm just not overly excited week one. Jaden Daniels going up against Tampa Bay. Once again, I want to be a little bit cautious here week one. Dak Prescott going up against Cleveland. It's tough sledding there. And Baker Mayfield with a really good matchup against Washington. I would feel comfortable playing him. In fact, do I feel comfortable enough? Yeah, I think I would move him up ahead of Dak Prescott for this week. But you know what? There's that new offensive look going on there. Things might be not fully together week one. It's Dak Prescott. We'll trust that talent against Cleveland. It's tough. It's tough there. I could understand either way. And that's going to bring us to this tier here, which kicks off with Brock Purdy going up against the New York Jets. As you can see, I am concerned about that. Not too excited. So he falls into this tier. Not loving the upside for Brock Purdy. Now, could he get several touchdowns thrown to Christian McCaffrey, where Christian McCaffrey does most of the work? Definitely a possibility. So, I mean, play him at your own risk. Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr. I think there's reasons to be cautiously excited about all of these guys in this tier. Justin Herbert. I think that Las Vegas defense is better than we expect yet again, so I don't know. Sam Darnold, though, going up against New York. Nice, cautious excitement. Aaron Rodgers, tough matchup. That's why he's a little bit lower than preseason rankings. Will Levis, Chicago. Tougher matchup than we expect, actually, but still some upside there with that Tennessee offense. Final tiers here: Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones, Russell Wilson, Bo Nix, Gardner Minshew, and the actual final tier: Bryce Young and Jacoby Brissett in 2 quarterback leagues. Avoid. Tough matchup for Bryce Young against New Orleans to start off with. Jacoby Brissett. I don't know what to expect from this New England offense, even in what might be a pretty good matchup against Cincinnati. Might be. We'll see. That is it for the quarterbacks. Let me know if you have any agreements, disagreements with these rankings, with my fade, my love. Let's get on to the tight ends. And here are my week 1 tight end rankings. Started off my first tier, kicking off with Sam Laporta going up against the Rams. Optimistic about the upside there for that Detroit offense, as you have probably noticed throughout the rankings so far. Dalton Kincaid going up against Arizona. Just like running back to James Cook, I'm very excited about these pieces that I was excited about to begin, coming in the preseason. going up against Arizona week 1. Give me. Very excited about those. That's going to bring us on to my second tier, which begins with Travis Kelce going up against Baltimore week 1. He's feeling good. He's healthy. And as I talked about Xavier Worthy, I think this could be a dink and dunk, run the ball kind of game actually for Kansas City here. Finding it hard to get the ball out deep along the exterior of the offense. So that's what we're going to do along the sidelines. So Travis Kelce, not too concerned about this week. Mark Andrews going up against Kansas City on the other side of the ball, so let's go. Evan Ingram going up against Miami. This is the type of game here where extra excited about Evan Ingram. Think he could have a massive day, definite boom territory. Could have made him a love, definitely, but I guess I want to go lower in the rankings. If you're thinking about sitting Evan Ingram, I mean, you better have drafted one of these 4 guys then ahead of him, which I don't know why you did that to yourself, but that better be the case. And then Trey McBride just a little bit behind that, the one, just somebody had to slip behind Evan Ingram here. I just couldn't quite get Evan Ingram ahead of Kelce and Mark Andrews to start week 1 was really the only issue there. But Trey McBride going up against Buffalo, lots of excitement there in tier 2. These are all must-start guys. George Kittle, basically must-start unless he might have fallen a little bit in your drafts. Maybe you got him and somebody else. Going up against the New York Jets, kind of a tough matchup. That works one way or the other. Either they keep George Kittle back to block. This pass rush week 1 might not be the biggest concern, I guess, of San Francisco too. Trent Williams is back, so that's huge. Trent Williams being back, definitely huge feather in the cap for George Kittle. But what I noticed more so last season was when they were concerned about the pass rush, that's when they used George Kittle more. So I am cautiously optimistic about George Kittle in a tougher matchup against the New York Jets for the San Fran offense. Let's bring us on to this next tier, my 4th tier, which kicks off with one of my guys for the preseason. Jake Ferguson not starting out too pretty against Cleveland. Tough defense against, you know what? I have stats here. So Jake Ferguson versus Cleveland. This was the 7th toughest matchup in 2023 via Edge something fantasy. Let me get you that name. Draft Edge. Via Draft Edge website. First in yards given up, first in receptions allowed, 29th in touchdowns allowed. So that's a good stat for Jake Ferguson in terms of the touchdowns allowed. And according to FTN's website, second least fantasy points allowed to the tight end position, that being the Cleveland defense are all these numbers. So Cleveland defense, toughest in yards given up, toughest in receptions allowed, 29th in touchdowns allowed. But all in all, second least fantasy points allowed via FTN. I would say Jake Ferguson is not a boom, but a possible bust. I'm not expecting a huge week from Jake Ferguson because they do a good job of covering the tight end position. Quarterback doesn't necessarily target that position a whole lot. So tough to say that's a safe floor, and extra tough to say that the boom potential is there, especially for a guy like Jake Ferguson who really relies upon volume. So I'm not expecting a boom, and I am expecting the possibility of a complete bust against Cleveland. All possible for Jake Ferguson. Best case scenario, 9 points or something. Dallas Goedert going up against Green Bay. Now we are talking 11, the matchup for Dallas Goedert. Let's see here. So 6th best matchup in 2023 according to Draft Edge website. And then we've got 26th in terms of the Green Bay defense, 26th in yards given up, so that's good for Dallas Goedert. 13th middle in receptions allowed, 31st in touchdowns allowed. That's a good thing for Dallas Goedert. And according to FTN, a little bit of a different story. 15th, right in the middle of the league, most fantasy points allowed via FTN. There were some differences between FTN and Edge, Draft Edge. That's why I'm including both of those. And I couldn't quite nail down which one I trusted the most. I don't know what the reasoning for those differences were, but just a few differences. Sometimes there were agreements. I don't know. It's a little bit just different ways of tracking numbers, I guess, between the two of them. But what I came to for my conclusion here on Dallas Goedert was that he is a high floor, high ceiling with a chance of busting. There is a chance, especially this year, different defense in Green Bay, and given what we saw last year with Philadelphia and everything, there is a chance that Dallas Goedert could bust in this matchup. But I think there's a pretty good chance that he'll have a solid week. So, love him. Dalton Schultz going up against Indianapolis. We'll see about this whole Houston thing, but that's where I ranked him 10th. Kyle Pitts, 11th. And now we're getting into the last tier of, guys who I think you should be legitimately relying upon to start for you this week. Noah Fant kicking that off, going up against Denver. I love my Noah Fant. And so I'm starting off hot on his ranking because David Njoku going up against Dallas, concerns with that. Some, we'll see. Luke Musgrave going up against Philadelphia. Definite upside here for Luke Musgrave. Could have a big game. Might not. Cade Otton going up against Washington. I would say Luke Musgrave is kind of in the same territory, but less so than Dallas Goedert is in terms of what I'm expecting from him. Cade Otton going up against Washington, solid matchup there. I got no problem with that. Taysom Hill going up against Carolina. This is the type of week where we like our Taysom Hill, right? He should get some opportunities against this Carolina defense as they get close into the red zone for one of those better weeks for him. And then Brock Bowers going up against Los Angeles Chargers once again. Early on in the season, I'm not too afraid of that. So I'll take a shot on Brock Bowers here week 1 if I bet on him. And I don't have any of these guys over him, or even if I just want to play him over them. Go right ahead. Have at it, you. And that's going to bring us on to the back end. I'd rather not be starting these guys this week, but Cole Kmet going up against Tennessee. Pat Freiermuth going up against Atlanta. Zach Ertz going up against Tampa Bay. This is one of those things where Zach Ertz, I think he'll be fine, but the lack of love for him in the offseason, it concerns me. Jonnu Smith going up against Jacksonville. We'll see about how Miami utilizes that tight end role this year, but early on with no OBJ, could be good. Chig Okonkwo going up against Chicago. We'll see. We'll see about Chig this year. There's a lot of mouths to feed all of a sudden there. And then Tyler Conklin going up against San Francisco, but, that's in that final tier there for me. 23 tight ends ranked for you. If you have questions on any position, players that I did not rank, you just let me know in the comments, and I can answer those. But, generally, unless I really goofed, the answer is probably going to be, I would rather start one of these guys that I did rank above that person that I did not rank. So, thank you very, very much. Please like, comment, subscribe. That always helps. And I hope to see you when we go live here Thursday. Later today, right? 1.5 hours prior to kickoff of the season. Baltimore versus Kansas City tonight, baby. That's exciting. And then Saturday afternoon, evening, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, and Sunday morning, 2 hours prior to kickoff. All right, peace out.